Hello, welcome to the Fantastic Fiction at KGB reading series. Fantastic Fiction is a monthly speculative fiction reading series held on the third Wednesday of every month, hosted by Ellen Datlow and me, Matthew Kressel. We spotlight well-known and up-and-coming science fiction, fantasy, and horror authors, and admission is always free. We publish a monthly podcast and video so people who can't attend the in-person event can still enjoy the readings. If you'd like to support the series, you can donate at kgbfantasticfiction.org/support. Anyway, on to the show.
Hello. All right. Good evening. How's everybody? I'm getting jabbed in the mouth with the mic. What else is new?
Sorry about that.
My sound guys getting a little excited here. It's all good. How's everyone doing tonight? That's a good reaction. I'm happy to hear it. My name is Matt Kressel. I co-host the series with Ellen Datlow, Fantastic Fiction at KGB. We are a monthly series held on the second Wednesday of every month. There is no cover charge. We're always free. All we ask is what? What do we ask? Buy a drink, hard or soft. Mary, your bartender, is working very, very hard to keep you all hydrated. Thank you, Mary. Let's give Mary a hand. We have a mailing list, kgbfantasticfiction.org, or you can follow Ellen or myself on socials. We post about the monthly readings. I will let Ellen do the upcoming readers. Some of you have donated to our GoFundMe to keep the series going. Thank you, all of you. You know who you are. I'm pointing, I'm looking. You know who you are. Thank you. For some of you have been extremely generous. We appreciate that. All the money goes to the readers and to the bar. We have two fabulous readers tonight. One of them has read for us before, and one of them has not. I am told that this is Kristina Ten's first time not only reading for us, but first time at the bar. So welcome, Kristina. Also, if it's your first time attending Fantastic Fiction at KGB, please raise your hand. First time. Welcome. Thank you for coming. We are. How did you get here? I don't know. We'll have to ask each one of them individually. Make them sign a waiver. No, seriously, welcome. Join our mailing list. Hope you come back next month. I'll let Ellen announce at the break the next readers for the upcoming months for 26. Our first reader is going to be Kristina Ten. Kristina Ten is the author of Tell Me Yours, I'll Tell You Mine. May I hold it up? Here it is. You have these for sale, right? So at the break, come up. You can have Kristina sign a copy. You can buy and get it signed. Yes, what Lincoln says. Tell Me Yours, I'll Tell You Mine. Such a beautiful, striking cover. I really love that. Thank you. It is a collection of dark, strange stories released in October from Stillhouse Press. Her writing appears in the Best American Science Fiction and Fantasy, We're Here, the Best Queer Speculative Fiction, the Best Weird Fiction of the Year, and elsewhere. Along with winning the McSweeney's Dixon Award, she has been a finalist for the Shirley Jackson Award and the Locus Award. Ten is a graduate of Clarion West Writers Workshop and the University of Colorado Boulder's MFA program in fiction, and has received fellowships from the Ragdale Foundation and the Martha's Vineyard Institute of Creative Writing. Here is Kristina Ten.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Ellen, so much for having me. It's so cool to finally make it to KGB and to be here in front of such a loud, supportive crowd. It's amazing. So I will be reading from a story in Tell Me Yours, I'll Tell You Mine. The story is called Approved Methods of Love Divination in the First-Rate City of Dushagorod. It is the longest title in the collection, and It first appeared in the magazine of fantasy and science fiction. I will read a bit from the beginning and a bit from the end. This is set in a near future authoritarian state whose population has been ravaged by a recent war. I wrote it a few years ago when it was a little bit easier to write satire about near future authoritarian states. There is a part toward the beginning where if you got a drink that's in a can, if they do that here, if you have a soda or a beer or a cider in a can, you can play along and you'll know when it comes. In the first-rate city of Dushagorod, your heart's desire is not hard to find. You might meet him one night in the rotating bar with a 360-degree view of sprawling canals and skyscrapers, or at the Neo Jazz Cafe, you know the one, with the all-northern wine menu and the ambiance romantique. Or at the rare bookstore, the amateur rowing club, the school where you drop off your little cousin twice weekly as a favor to her mother, or at your own house, in which you can no longer set foot without being sprung upon by some Mr. Whateverovich in another one of your mama's well-intentioned setups. And if it doesn't happen organically, no problem. Because the proud people of Dushagorod practice a number of love divination methods, proven successes with no nasty stigmas, performed with skill and reverence, derived from ancient matchmaking wisdom. 3 methods to choose from, to be exact. 3-ish, if we're being less so. So if you're pining, carrot, darling, and Dushagorod, you needn't worry. You have every tool at your disposal, and you'll find your soulmate soon enough. Unless you are Sofia Kuzmin, of course, in which case you are, regrettably, doomed. Sofia Kuzmin has loose spirals of hair in a rusty brown that falls squarely between 6MB and 7LA on the Petrickian color match matrix. She has a habit of chewing on the ends of said hair absent-mindedly while concentrating on the task before her. She has an upper para-angle dimple on the right side of her face and a laugh that bursts from her lungs at an above-standard speed of 98 kilometers per hour. She has bright, narrow, fretful, pea-green eyes that are constantly moving. All of which matters not to the respected divinators of Dushagorod, nor to Sophia's parents, who have carted her to them dutifully month after month. Appearance and temperament, though logged in the spirit of due diligence, have little to do with the final reading the client receives. The reading the client receives depends strictly on 1. The reputability of the divinator, 2. The quality of the divining material she uses, and 3. The client's talent in reciting the letters of the alphabet, A through Z. In the 12 months between Sophia's 17th and 18th birthdays, her tenacious parents took her to 12 different divinators of the Dushagorod Toggle Tab school. 12 times they doused her hair in homemade cayenne pepper overnight tonic. 12 times they woke her at daybreak to prepare for the appointment ahead. Enunciate, they reminded her a dozen times over while she stood in front of the mirror, gargling salt water and clearing her still sleep-lined throat. A, B, C, good start so, D, E, F, speak up now, G, now stick the landing, H, again more clearly, H, go on, I, J, K. One of 3 officially sanctioned methods of love divination, Toggle Tab's origins date back to the middle of the last century. Little figure 8s of metal uncovered by archaeologists and treasure seekers in what we now know were crude schoolyards. Excavated from layers of ash and dirt, the silver pull tabs glimmered in the sun, arranged in such peculiar formations that anthropologists quickly identified them as ritual items. The cans they had once been attached to were found in crumpled heaps in a neighboring quadrant. Never mind all that. You can read about it, if you wish, at the city's excellent Culture and Heritage Museum. Now, the museum has received its fair share of criticism over the years, like most institutions constructed during the controversial Repop period. But rest assured that any so-called propaganda surrounding love divination has since been removed, and what remains is a thoughtful, neutrally minded curation of Dushagorodian practices then and now. All of Sophia's toggle tab appointments were more or less the same. She walked up a staircase, or took an elevator, or one time used an elaborate platform and pulley system to get to the 3rd or 5th or 7th floor of a building critics have called post-war Dushagorodian architecture novel and intimidating, where the door to the divinator's office stood slightly ajar between a pair of reclining armchairs. Then her parents would squeeze her hands reassuringly, her mother would sit in the chair on the left, her father in the one on the right, and Sophia would proceed chest-tight between them into the room where she hoped someone would illuminate her future. Immediately she was assaulted by plumes of incense, rose and orange blossom variety, nose hair singeing strength. A small, suspiciously quiet bird perched contentedly in a cage, open, in the corner, and sheer scarves were draped over lampshades, painting the walls a moody, bruisey red. Such is the stuff of the toggle tab appointments, the most affordable Sophia's parents could find, their divining substance, soda cans, remaining widely accessible even as other materials grow less so. Though, like everything else, their cost has nearly tripled over the past year. To counteract any negative associations that come with cheapness, toggle tab divinators strive to give clients a luxury reading experience. Floor cushions positively teeming with tassels, an abundance for the senses. They say that incense wards off ghosts, a harmless superstition. Each time, Sophia lowered herself onto a cushion, placing both knees to one side, while the divinator, a severe woman with hair color, dimple placement, and laugh speed of no particular relevance, performed the steps of the intricate ceremony. "I will now procure the divining object," the divinator announced weightily. Sophia swallowed hard, eyes stinging from the fragrant smoke. The divinator pulled a can of pomegranate soda from the mini fridge behind her and with an expert flourish set it on the low table between them. Then she took the metal tab between her fingers and tugged it forward, opening the can with a tinny crunch. The toggle tab method is simple, as are all state-approved love divination methods, for you needn't be a great scholar, a world-class thinker, to find your heart's desire. On this, all three schools agree. Egalitarian, you see? E, G, A, L. When the divinator toggled the tab forward, Sophia began, A. She toggled the tab backward, and Sophia continued, B. And so it went. Forward on C, backward on D. If the client reaches the end of the alphabet before the tab snaps loose, the pair take it from the start, reciting the alphabet again until the tab breaks off. The letter on which the tab comes free reveals the first initial of her soulmate's name. Only, for Sophia, it didn't quite pan out that way. At her first appointment, the tab snapped loose at the exact moment she fell into a violent coughing fit, her nerves proving a poor combination with the stupendous quantity of incense. The second time, she failed to properly distinguish her M and N, so the reading had to be discarded. The third time, the bird swooped from its cage and snatched the tab clear off the can, so the divinator could not be sure whether its separation was the bird's or fate's doing. The fourth time, you get the picture. On more than one occasion, nothing happened at all, and Sophia and the divinator sat toggling and reciting for hours without the tab loosening one bit, until her father's deep snores could be heard through the office door, and the sky in the window rolled onto its side, showing the city its black-purple back. It defied the laws of physics, and it defied the laws of the 9-hour Dushagorodian workday. So at last, the divinator set the can aside and told Sophia that she was welcome to schedule another appointment if she pleased, but for now, they were finis. The toggle tab divinators agreed that while every client's path to her soulmate is unique, some more direct and some winding, they had never seen anything like the potholed, sinkholed, dead-end street that was the ill fortune of Miss Sophia Kuzmin. After each appointment, Sophia's parents were passed a cloth receipt with the results of the reading, sometimes in a slanting hand, other times stamped in block print or typed neatly in a serif font, and always that same dreaded word, illegible, which to the Kuzmins looked an awful lot like ineligible. Unqualified for love, not fit for it, ruled out. So I'm going to skip ahead now. In the interim, we meet the other two schools of approved love divination, and where I'll take us now, we will meet the one unapproved method of love divination, and we'll see that the collective narrator is getting increasingly unhinged. Before we talk about the ropes, that's the name of the unapproved method. Before we talk about the ropes, let us remind ourselves, a wave of change has fallen over our fair city of Dushagorod. It has been 15 years since the last execution. Couples are no longer required to produce an official match certificate signed by a licensed love divinator during random checks performed by the city guard. The checks themselves are now almost uselessly infrequent, and after the irksome riots of last year, which it would do well to remember resulted in millions in state property damage, occur on a timed schedule on the first day of each long month. This naturally puts the guard at a significant disadvantage since citizens have time to prepare. Reports from these home visits have described calendars with red circles on check dates, the word inspection scrawled in a child's hand, carefree hearts over the eyes. 15 years since the last execution, and an unremarkable one by all accounts. The typical offenses, though carried out for a longer than average period, will give her that. She was 32, with a 4.5 millimeter diastema between her two front teeth and hair color indeterminate, as she, like many of her fellow dissidents, kept it shorn to the scalp to avoid categorization. She had attached earlobes, ears pierced in 7 places along the rim. In them, she wore curved steel darning needles, in what today's so-called counter-movement scholars term a subversion of a tool traditionally associated with women's work. Her name has been scrubbed from the system, but the liberation devils who have taken her as their hero call her Darnum Dolly. 15 years, and they still put up cloth posters every day printed with her picture and that tasteless name. The guards take them down during their daily sweeps, and there's no need to thank us, by the way. It's a service we're glad to provide to the community. Everywhere but the new anarchist district, that is. Self-governing. Phew, madness. And only the most recent of the outer zones to have fallen into disorder. They'll just have to live with those eyesores, won't they? So, an unremarkable execution, and a lenient one, to be sure. A proficient executioner, a painless technique. None of the thrilling, drawn-out spectacle of the first decades of the repop. She had been evading her call to duty notices for years, and during her trial cited a medical condition that would prevent her from birthing children. But we had the state doctors examine her, exhaustively, and at our own expense, we might add. And make no mistake, she was perfectly capable of doing her part for the repop effort. To this day, it is widely believed that she had no interest in marrying a man at all. We are lenient, broadly speaking, are we not? Think of the approved love divination methods, which do not prescribe one particular partner with whom the client may or may not feel an instant connection, but rather direct the client to a first initial, a suggestion of a name, so that the client retains the power of final choice. An A result, while narrowing the field down substantially, could yield a match with anyone from Adam to Armand. It is the ideal marriage of fate and freedom. That was one of the first slogans Dushagorad's brilliant advertisers dreamed up for the love divination campaigns. The ideal marriage of fate and freedom. The ideal marriage, period. The banners are so meticulously preserved, you wouldn't know they waved proudly through years of sun and rain and snowstorms, and were at points torn down and doused in gasoline, at other points splattered with their defenders' blood. They're wasted now, rolled up and stacked in bins as they are in the airless museum basement. The censoring of the state's valiant struggles, that is what we ought to call our national shame. We move onward now, to the ropes, the unapproved method. It's a frightening name, the ropes. There has been some speculation that this is by design, and that by giving the method a name so different from the state naming conventions for love divination, one so torturous in nature, its originators were able to slip it under our radar. It's true that one of the repop's early execution techniques involved tension ropes coupled with stone weights and a tall pole structure in the town square, but as you'll come to see, the ropes method we speak of now is far and away the more barbaric of the two. Unfortunately, the ropes' underground quarters, located in the woefully, if predictably, impoverished and heavily littered 4th Anarchist District, has circumvented our surveillance devices. So it is impossible for us to recount the traitorous Sofia Kuzmin's midnight visit in such rich detail as we have her previous appointments. However, in reviewing communications from our network of trusted loyalists, we have been able to deduce the following. The ropes is a brutish act. Dozens of depraved participants stand in a circle in the divinator's cramped, poorly lit quarters, their unwashed bodies pressed against one another, chanting in low, inhuman tones. From its center, one hears the slapping of the ropes against the pavement, the hard breaths of the lost citizens skipping between them. Viewed in a more forgiving light, in many ways the ropes operates much like the approved love divination methods, an inferior copycat born of unoriginal minds. 2 thick, heavy ropes, each approximately 12 feet in length, are held on either end by a pretender to the divinator title. The illegitimate divinators manipulate the ropes so they spin in opposite directions, while the others around them chant on and on like snake charmers drawing the foul serpent from the depths of its basket. When they prompt her, the citizen jumps into the space between the whirling ropes and continues to jump, matching their rhythm so she does not trip. Only, she must trip eventually. And that is where the love divination comes in. As she skips, the divinators, and let us add here that divinators in this case refers not only to the women controlling the ropes, but also to the crowd of women gathered around them who cheer the skipper on, all recognized as divinators by the practitioners of this wretched method. As she skips, the divinators sing. And they sing a wicked, coded song. I like coffee, I like tea. I like the boys and the boys like me, or else I'll choose to play Dolly. Evie, Ivy, over. Tell your mama the war is won. She had a fella when she was young. Tell your papa the very same. He had a gal and he changed her name. Papa went to market to buy some meat. Mama with the baby who's fast asleep. Fortunes, fortunes, please tell me, what's my sweetheart going to be? Doctor, lawyer, banker, cop, sailor, soldier, sorry, sock, A, B, C, D. According to our trusted connections, the letter on which the skipper trips marks the first initial of her soulmate's name. So you see, not so different. We take issue with its collective nature, of course, and the notion that any old hag off the street might be tempted to assume the prestigious divinator title, sullying it for those who have actually gone through the proper training. And we take issue with the secrecy and the fracas and the shameless bodily exertion and the inordinate amount of encouragement, love divination being a sacred thing that should, in its process, remind the client why they have chosen it in the first place. How very miserable it is to be alone. That is why the parents wait outside the office. That is why the client sits across from a solemn divinator in a near silent room for hours, very, very still. To illustrate that a woman cannot feel on her own the joy, the union, the pleasant forward motion that is marriage. The ropes undermines all that. When the skipper trips, the crowd rushes forth, reaching their arms out to catch her on her way down. If she falls despite this, they lift her to her feet and console her, and they tend to her injuries, scraped knees and stubbed toes and raw palms where she made contact with the ground. But with a few modifications, not so different. With the right ones, they could even register the ropes, acquire state-approved status. Realizing our resources are many and theirs relatively few, we have on countless occasions offered to assist with the implementation. But after enough of these generous offers, we must accept that the fools are not the least interested. There are rumors that the divinators of the ropes were brides of the late Repop period who originally banded together in a violent plot to kill their husbands. But this is mere conjecture. Also conjecture is how exactly the divinators working that night managed to give a name to the anomaly of Sofia Kuzmin's situation. What's known is that as she tripped, it happened before the part of the song when the letters come in, she took one of the ropes down with her. It slipped from the spinner's hands, launching high into the air despite its considerable heft, and tumbled in a coiled heap on the ground, a heap that loosened over a matter of seconds into a shape that should not have been unfamiliar to the oft illegible Sophia. It was the same shape the orange peel had formed twice in the office of the dancing rind divinator. The same shape Sophia's breath takes when it exits her throat at an extraordinary 98 kilometers per hour mid-coughing fit. It is not a shape that correlates with any letter of our modern alphabet, but it is nearly identical to one specific letter in the alphabet of the dead. I'll stop there. Thank you so much. The story does go on, so if you'd like to see how it ends and how Sophia and her new rebel friends undermine the state, you can pick up the book here. Thank you so much.
We'll take a 10-minute or so break, have a drink, and come back.
Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Hi there. First off, I want to mention that Matt will be reading next Thursday for Galactic Terrors, which is sponsored by the New York HWA, right? And it's online, and there's information here. And it's a monthly show, broadcast live each second Thursday at 8 p.m. on Facebook Live and the Galactic Terrors YouTube channel. Do I have to give you the just Google it. Anyway, so yes, so please, I don't know who you're reading with, but he's going to read it.
I should know.
You should know. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. He's reading. So, okay. So, before we start, the next few readers we have coming up are April 8th, Mike Allen and Michael Swanwick. May 13th, Micaiah Johnson and Siobhan Carroll. June 18th, Nicholas Kaufman and A.C. Wise. July 8th, Justin Key and Sam Rebelin. And after that, we've got Kaylee Pedersen, I think it is, and Jeffrey Ford and John Foster, Carrie Edmund Laban, and in November, James Patrick Kelly and Stephanie Feldman, and we have Paul Tremblay at the end of the year. So yeah, so we've got people coming on. So I hope you'll all come back, those who have not been here before. But right now, we have the amazing C.S.E. Cooney, who's a 2-time World Fantasy Award-winning author for her novel Saint Death's Daughter and her collection Bone Swan Stories. Yeah, there is a period there, I can't see it, sorry. Other works include Saint Death's Herald, The Twice Drowned Saint, Dark Breakers, and Desdemona and the Deep. And she has books to sell, so please come buy her books. She's a Risling Award-winning poet and a SAG-AFTRA voice actor, having narrated over 130 audiobooks. As singer-songwriter Brimstone Rhine, Cooney has produced 2 EPs, an album, and an SF musical named what? Called
Ballads from a Distant Star.
Okay. Thank you. With her husband, Carlos Hernandez, she co-designed the collaborative tabletop role-playing game, Negocios Infernales. Is it for sale? Do you have one for sale?
We have one.
She has one for sale. So it's out now from Outland Entertainment. Find out more at C.S.E. Cooney's website, her Substack newsletter. That's not right. Should there be an and there or something?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
It's probably my fault.
No, it's not. Maybe no, I didn't proofread it, obviously. Anyway, please welcome Claire Cooney.
Thank you. Shh. It's okay. It's okay. Well, you're so lucky because you're going to get the middle of the second book of a series. So congratulations. So Saint Death's Herald is the second book after Saint Death's Daughter. The main character is a necromancer named Lainey Stones. Miscellaneous Stones is her full name, but she goes by Lainey. And she's just so sweet. She loves the dead. She loves the god of death. She's adorable, and occasionally she has to do really dirty work for her god. In this book, she's chasing down a ghost who keeps possessing living bodies and kind of draining them of all of their life juice and then hopping to another body, leaving a trail of corpses. The ghost happens to be her dead great-grandfather, who also used to be a necromancer. So her job is to lay him low, and she's traveling with some friends, some companions. Duantry is a friend, and Duantry has 2 forms, a woman and a bird. She's a kestrel. And then she's traveling with a guy named Cratchin, who has historically been an enemy, but he has since been possessed by this terrible ghost and drained of all his life stuff and left to die by the road. And Lainey works some major magic to kind of fill him up with lots of other tattered souls, and they repair him until he's both ice and flesh, and he's pretty intimidated by this, and he has heretofore been a bastard, but he's maybe coming around. He doesn't know. So he's full of sky wizards. And then she's traveling with an undead flying tiger rug named Stripes. Yes, she loves Stripes. And so they're about to enter a city called Medina Tam, where skin changers live. And skin changers are not human. They can look like humans, but basically they're pneumophages. So they go near something living and they sort of suck out their soul, and then they can take on their shape, but they also have all their memories and all of their knowledge and identity and all of their affection and dislikes. And, they're just like you, except that they've just killed you. So skin changers are sort of scary. But they have a job to do. And right now they found a skin changer corpse, indicating that her dead great-grandfather is not only jumping into humans, but corpses, but skin changers as well. All right, here we go. Lainey watched Duantry in her kestrel form circling the city on the scarp. With every gyre, she flew wider and higher, finally disappearing into the bluebell blue of the late winter sky. Stripes floated at Lainey's side, insistently butting his head into the palm of her hand. She scratched absently behind his ears and at last lowered her gaze. Better that Duantry stay above for now. Better not risk angering the skin changers before they had a chance to make their case to the authorities. Still, she hated being apart. Lightly gnawing on one knuckle, Lainey contemplated the limestone bridge before her. Far below its triple arches, the river Fet rushed and roared. The Fet was one of two rivers bounding Witch Queen City, the other being the river Fragor on the far side of the scarp. Both rivers ran through Lyriat as well, far to the southwest, though Lainey had known them by different names, the Poxbarge and the Whistlebelly. Footnote 6. The Illyrian nomenclature hints at a long history of communicable diseases spread through inland port cities, as well as the inadvisability of drinking river water without first thoroughly straining and boiling it. She could scarcely believe, looking down at the rushing river now, that they were the same bodies of water. In the sea-level region of Lyriat, the rivers meandered along, shallow and sluggish, warmish and wide, besmirched with sediment and sewage and other runoff. Here in the uplands, the Fet and Fragor ran swift in their slim rocky beds, their waters tumultuous, cold, and clear. Across the river, on the other side of the bridge, the scarp rose steeply from a rocky embankment, at least 100 feet high, maybe 3 miles long, but barely 100 yards wide. The scarp was like the carcass of some rough leviathan turned to stone in its final slumber. It rested between the two silver serpents of its river guardians, the waters continuously carving away at the bedrock. This idiosyncrasy of geography, Lainey knew from the reading she'd done on the area, was due to overlapping lava flows from a time before history. Religious texts refer to those lava flows as the divine couch, where once the three lovers had slept, where Isthmus of Mysteries, Amahira, Mirage Shaper, and Wakiri, who is 10,000 beasts, had all bedded each other in love, and where in the molten heat of their mutual desire they had created the first skin changers of Aeth. Sometime later, humans came and built a city on the scarp. Sometime after that, the skin changers took it back for themselves. Lainey wasn't clear on the details or the timeline. At the top of the scarp, she could barely make out the squat structures crowding the narrow ridge. Built with an eye for defense over beauty, the blunt buildings jutted like bad teeth, ground down by the meteorological caprice of centuries. A dismal sight, indeed, were it not for the glowing flora running rampant over the old umbrageous buildings. Scarlet lichens tapestried the basalt walls and streets, interspersed with vibrant patchworks of tangerine, marmalade, velvety saffron, and all threaded through with startling veins of iridian. From the baked red clay of the rooftops spilled enthusiastic fountains of star-shaped ivy, the pointed purple lobes of the leaves all limbed in rusty orange. It flowed down the dour defensive walls, covered the narrow streets and alleys, and flooded the edges of the scarp. From there, it frothed and fizzed over the sheer cliffside in lusty profusion, falling like draping hair all the way into the river Fet. Lainey was surprised the ivy hadn't completely overtaken the bridge. But though it had smothered the gatehouse on the far side, the ivy stopped just short of the granite outcropping where the bridge was anchored, as if someone had made it their business to regularly and brutally chop it back. Or chomp it back, Lainey considered, imagining a skin changer with the appropriate sized teeth. At least it'd be an herbivore, she muttered. What? Asked Cratchin. Nothing. Ready to cross? Gleaming in the creamy morning light, the limestone bridge leapt the river Fet like a long-legged hare in 3 graceful bounds. Lainey gestured for Stripes to precede her. He nipped at her wrist, his always bared teeth lightly grazing her skin, and began zipping across the long ivory path, never once touching down. Though they had wrapped the skin changer corpse in blankets and strapped her to him, and loaded him down with all their goods and equipment, Stripes did not sag even a little under their weight. Watching him fly straight and true, Lainey grinned fondly. Stripes was full of pep this morning, a measure by which she could gauge her own vigor. A relief, after her prodigious outpouring of magic the day before yesterday, to have bounced back so quickly. For the work ahead, she would need all her power. And what better embodies power, she thought, than an undead, airborne tiger rug grinning down at all he surveys. Cratchin cleared his throat. Lainey glanced at him. What she could see of his face, under the cowl of Duandre's extra robe, glittered like snow by moonlight. His skin was overlaid with a delicate veil of interlocking ice mail. Lainey hoped, after all he'd endured, that the Sky Wizards would protect him against any further torment and keep him safe from Grandpa Rad. She hoped that, once he felt safe, he would not turn against her. Cratchin jerked his chin toward the bridge. What are you waiting for? Want me to hold your hand? His lip curled in derision. Lainey almost rolled her eyes, but stopped when she saw that his gaze cut away from her to the bridge. A current of sparkling color rolled through the patchwork of him, lighting up the various frost flowers and icicle parts in a fireworks display he seemed to have no control over. Something about the bridge was frightening him. No, not him, the Sky Wizards inside him. Lainey stepped closer. She did indeed take his hand. It was cold, and it clung to her own with a sort of unconscious helplessness. She brought her other hand up to cover their entwined fingers, asking softly, Cratchin, what were Skakmat and Takathura to each other 100 years ago? There, that flashing fear again, panicked lights moving through his prosthetics, deep green, gold, cold blue, a hint of pink. But Cratchin snapped, how should I know? And jerked his hand out from between hers. Then for good measure, he crossed his arms over his chest, hiding his fingers in his armpits, and lifting his chin with the belligerence of a bull. All the strange, swirling lights in his skin dimmed and darkened. Did the Sky Wizards go into hiding, Lainey wondered, or did Cratchin stuff them down? She said. Cratchin huffed in response and stomped onto the bridge. Lainey hesitated, but what other course was open to them? The Sky Wizards themselves had insisted on going to Witch Queen City. The ghost was here. They had found one corpse already. There would be others if she didn't move, and quickly. Rolling her shoulders, Lainey stepped onto the bridge and then, the moment her feet touched the limestone, her anxiety, her doubts, the aches in her muscles and joints, her guilt and hunger and mind-eating fear, her flame-white fury at Grandpa Rad, the murders he'd committed, the mockery he'd made of his victims, all of it, everything, drained away through the bottoms of her feet. Lambent pleasure licked up from the limestone itself. It suckled and lapped and nibbled, absorbing anything back into it that was not delight. Lainey entered into an ecstatic focus, her consciousness expanding all the way into the bridge, pier point and arch barrel. The limestone pressed up through her boots and entered her pulse, shocking her with its alertness and purpose, its vigorous welcome. The stones themselves seemed to be wafting her aloft, lending her their strength so that they, not she, should bear the weight of her woes for a while. Limestone! Wonder-struck, Lainey slowed her steps, picking up and placing each foot as if walking on air-buoyed silk. Thoughts frisked through her mind like gems through a tumbler. Limestone! It's hardly stone at all, but animal, made mineral, a symphony of skeletons, microscopic once life, the dead as architecture, the dead as a bridge from the known into the unknown. All she wanted was to sprawl across the center keystone and pray. The three lovers may have built Witch Queen City, but Saint Death was in this bridge, as she was everywhere. Lainey could feel her love in every step. Her toes twinkled, her heels hummed, the bridge thrummed. All the tiny fossils caught in the limestone beamed their numulite-shaped memories up through her legs, like walking on radiant coins. They sang to her, chimed and belled and hummed their tales of their tiny lives and tiny deaths. Millions of them, millions and millions. Limestone, her new favorite rock. Rapturous, Lainey, as bridge, moved through the ages of eighth. Now bone, now stone, now structure, now bone again, until she smashed, face first, into Cratchin. She bounced off his back, her nose smarting, and cussed in Quadic. Now Lainey, she thought morosely, rubbing her nose. Lainey, not bridge. It was only when her boundaries were reasserting themselves, as she readjusted her spectacles, dangling off one ear like a drunken tightrope walker, that her wits returned enough to wonder what on eighth stopped him in his tracks like that. Stepping on the heels of that thought, Lainey darted around Cratchin's rigid body, looking ahead for signs of danger. She froze. She backed up a step, right up into Cratchin. His hands grasped her shoulders, steadying her, but also keeping her still, in front of him. At the end of the bridge, blocking their exit to the gatehouse, stood the most enormous creature Lainey had ever seen. Chapter 8, God Beasts. You could say it's human-shaped, Lainey thought, if the human were gigantic and a rhinoceros. A sort of giant-like, rhino-like, human-like hodgepodge of a person with heterochromatic eyes. One round eye was a pale amber, the other dark brown. Skin changer. But, she breathed, what kind is it? It was so huge, so huge! Gunug. Cratchin muttered the word, a puff of bitter breath against her ear. Lainey rubbed the delicate lobe, knocking frost into the bright air. The echo under his voice meant it was the sky wizards, not the man, who spoke. Gunug, Lainey repeated. God beast, one of the Witch Queen's personal guard. God beast, she mouthed, but did not vocalize. An apt description. The creature was twice Cratchin's height, and Cratchin already towered over her, and thrice his width, round-jowled and wrinkle-whittled and slabbed with muscle. They wore their hair in two thick, clay-dark braids that wrapped their elongated brow like a tholobate. Their skin was the color of dust and dead lace, with a bruise-like mottled pattern. Two bony protrusions jutted from the front of their face, one from the bridge of their nose, another from their brow. Their ears were like rolled-up leaves, twitching along the sides of their skull. They held stripes by the scruff of his neck. He dangled, looking kittenish and pathetic. This was a ruse, Lainey was sure. Almost sure. She swallowed, wet her lips, and said, "Greetings, Gunug of Medinatam." Good. Her voice was loud and clear, not too quivery or abrasive. "We are strangers to your city, though my companion has had dealings with Takathuran merchants in the past. Tell me, please, why have you detained my mount?" "Wherefore, wizard," the Gunug demanded, "does your mount fly before you, bearing one of our dead on its back like a trophy? Is it for sport?" "Oh, no," Lainey cried, distressed, losing her tether to her previous assured tranquility. "No, it's not like that. We found her at the foot of the bridge. We were bringing her to your authorities. We know what killed her. We're hunting her murderer, have been for months. Your city is in danger," she finished. And if her voice quavered a little, at least it sounded completely earnest. The Gunug's face shifted to Cratchin. Their lashes were long and curling, pale beige in color. "You bring danger into our city," they agreed, "when you walk in the company of criminals." Criminals? Lainey knew that Cratchin had been, for a time, royal assassin of Lyriat, and had no doubt butchered reams of people, just like Nita, but surely he'd have mentioned it before insisting they all traipse into the capital if he'd murdered a few skin changers. Twisting to look over her shoulder at him, she asked, "Care to explain?" She stopped so hard she bit her tongue. A glimmering helm of bespelled ice now covered Cratchen's entire skull. Its thick, blue-hued visor distorted his features, and the lace mail veil overlaying his skin was beginning to goosebump up into nubby piles of hoarfrost. She watched as the newest layer hardened into wicked little points and spikes. She grasped his arm, her palm seared with cold. "Cratchen!" She shook him. "Talk to me. Tell me what's going on." Cratchen did not move. She could not tell if he could hear or see her from behind his helmet, or if it was even he who was peering out from his own eyes. When she tried to tighten her grip, the ice itself repelled her, shooting slender needles into her hand that melted the moment she withdrew. Behind her, the bridge began to tremble. Lainey whipped about to see the Gunug marching closer, each footstep like thunder. "Let the criminal turn himself in. We will escort you into the city that you may lay your case before Tam." Lainey held up her gray left hand. "Stop!" Both her voices boomed out from her, surface and deep. The Gunug did stop, their alien features expressing wariness and surprise. "Release my mount and move aside," Lainey said. "We mean no harm. We will come with you peacefully, but I will not let you detain any of my companions without cause. Step back." "Without cause?" the Gunug bellowed. "You have brought an egg stealer into our midst." "I don't know what that means." But before Lainey could finish, the Gunug lowered its horned head and stampeded forward, the limestone shaking with each bound. 3 things happened then. Lainey's left hand clenched, Stripes turned his head and bit the arm holding him, and the bridge bucked. Once again, Lainey became the limestone, and the limestone became her, each sharing in the other, creating the third of the 3 states, Ectenica, the immaterial material of undeath, fluid, malleable, ready to be shaped to her hand. The limestone willed her to use it, use all of it, every lost fossil, every forgotten coral shell and shard of bone. It writhed, greedy to please. How does she want us, will us, need us, unspooled into the thinnest ribbon, shattered to a cloud of dust, rising to defend her like the tail of a scorpion, metasoma, telsin, vesicle, and venom glands? At her word we sting. Oh dear. Saint Death help her, the bridge was a little too eager, perhaps. Lainey flattened her hand, tilted it, sent soothing thoughts into the limestone. When the bridge was calm enough to listen, she had but to hint at what she truly wanted from it, and it leapt to obey. Like a long-time dance partner who could foretell her every mood, her every move, the bridge rose sharply in the middle, with Lainey and Cratchen riding the stable center of the keystone. From the pinnacle, the 2 sides slanted down, steep and smooth. The Gunug tried to keep their purchase, but the limestone slide was inexorable. Scrambling and slipping, the Gunug clawed for a handhold, but gently and dreamily, the limestone slid the great god beast all the way back down to the gatehouse, where they landed in a massive heap. Stripes did a quick loop over their head, batting at one of their sensitive ears with a paw, but Lainey whistled sharply through her teeth, calling him off. He flew to her as she stepped down off the keystone. The Ectenica rose to greet her, forming stairs where she willed. Slowly she moved toward the Gunug, who was still sprawled in a confused heap of itself upon the dead ivy detritus. Left hand still outstretched, Lainey allowed her fingers to relax. She opened her palm and turned it up. "Sumsda se ka se hesh," she said, speaking 3 of the 12 Quadic apologies with both her voices. "Truly, good Gunug, I do not mean you or any of the skin changers of Takathora any harm. I am Miscellaneous Immiscible Stones, priest of Doedena, friend to the 3 lovers. Please, let us come peaceably into your city, for I must speak with your witch queen about the peril stalking your people." At her words, the Gunug lifted their head, the spooked panic fading from their face. Their leaf-like ears twitched. "Stones?" they asked, slowly rising to their 3-toed feet. "But why did you not say so from the start?"
That was fabulous. We loved it. So books are for sale. Come up, buy books from both authors, buy drinks, hang around, and otherwise we will see you next month. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
You have been listening to the Fantastic Fiction at KGB reading series. Check out our website at kgbfantasticfiction.org and click on support if you'd like to help keep the series going. Anyway, that's our show. Thanks for listening and see you next month.